Follow Helen Paul and I, Frank Donga.
You forgot your show notes inside.
Can you imagine? That's what I'm looking for.
Over the last 3 years, we have traveled through the hills and the valleys of Nigeria.
I've seen people combine their coleslaw with ofada rice and pomo before.
Say what?
As we uncover the untold stories of food heroes on the front lines.
There's no planting season for us. We produce here every week.
Connecting them to untapped opportunities and the experts who can solve their problems.
We advise farmers to top dress with urea at the rate of 90 kilograms per hectare.
For a very long time, I think we neglected farming in Nigeria.
We provide loan to these farmers, and then we've been working with them for like over 10 years now.
So anybody can participate in agriculture.
This is Farm&Fortune.
We are back for an all-new season of Farm&Fortune, Season 3.
I'm excited.
But Frank, come to think of it, you visited all the farms last time. They gave you all free awu food, and your stature is not changing. What's happening?
Wow. Brand new season, you're bringing violence, Abby. Don't worry, there's enough time for payback.
What violence is this? It's just a question I'm asking you. But while we are waiting for Frank to recover from all the payback he wants to do, don't forget that last season we had amazing different things happening on Farm&Fortune.
Oh, yes.
But can you remember some of them?
Last season was a blast. We'll bring you a recap.
Of course, we'll bring you a recap. My name is Helen Paul.
And I'm Frank Donga.
And you're welcome to new season of Farm&Fortune, Season 3.
The farmers at their level should understand that some materials are not good for packaging some agricultural products.
Kowane iri yake, kowane iri ne, ko daga ina aka zo da shi. Gaskiya baka iya raba shi da damage.
Soil testing will enable you to know the particular nutrient that is deficient or more in the soil.
I'll be showing you how to make cashew butter, a delicious spread from cashew nuts.
If I were you, my onions fall, I keep moving. Time is not on your side. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Beginnings are often beautiful, but it gets tough in the middle. When Ogundipe decided to take up farming as his post-retirement business, did he bite more than he could chew?
I started farming proper at about 2003. 1, as a business, 2, as a vocation. I started farming, having taken after my dad, who was a big-time poultry farmer in his heydays. I started with maize, 2008, 9, 10. And why did I do that? I saw it as a backward integration to provide raw material for my poultry business. Then I had commercial layer beds as well as broilers. And I felt it was cost effective to plant at least more than 60% of what I needed for my beds. So that I did. By the line, I varied into plantain farming. And eventually, before I knew what was going on, I had over 4 hectares of plantain. And joined with that, as a starting line, I had cassava. Of course, it takes time for the plantain to mature. Of course, otherwise, why do you have to waste the land if you could co-cultivate? So that was why I went to that. So, and while that was going on, I watched a documentary as to the economic value of oil palm plantation. I became endeared. That was in 2009.
Just look at that. Great times, awesome moments.
That's
Take
right.
me back. Whew.
Back to where? I beg you, for whatever. If you want to go back on your own. Me, I'm looking forward to all the wonderful goodies in this new season.
And there's actually a lot to look forward to. The season is packed with a lot of exciting moments. We'll be meeting new farmers and bringing you insights that will help you scale your farm business up.
Of course, this season we mean business. Today we are starting at the top. We'll be exploring the concept of goal setting and how it affects the business of farming.
You already met our farmer earlier, Mr. Ogundipe. He is a retired accountant who is hopeful that his farm business can sustain his family post-retirement. But with the minimal resources at his disposal, are his hopes valid or misplaced?
Well, before we continue our chat with Mr. Ogundipe, let's introduce you to the Fortune Board.
This season, our farmers will not just be sharing their stories based on their challenges and the solutions they deploy, we'll be giving them scores. Our guests will be doing the same too.
Well, concerning the scores, it's just our own opinions though. They are not final in any way. We are not attempting to predict anyone's future.
Dr. Elimpo, predictor of the future. Anyway, back to Mr. Ogundipe. Helen, how would you rate him or score him on the magnitude of his challenges?
Well, let me get into the character of a teacher.
Oh, yeah.
I will score Mr. Ogundipe the sum of 13 over 20. A lot of odds are not in his favor. What about his farmer attitude? What would you score him?
Well, Helen, considering his age, taking that kind of challenge on at this point, I would say he's pretty high in morale and his attitude is right. So I'm going to score him 15 out of 20.
That's fair enough. But will he overcome the challenges? Let's take a look.
Building a farm business is challenging. How is Ogundipe succeeding where many have failed?
As an economist, the first thing you are taught is cost-benefit analysis of anything you do in life, including your marriage. And I therefore put all of these crops on a template. So in 2010, I did the first test run with about 56 plots of land. And lo and behold, under 3 years, it started fruiting. What is the input? What's the output? What are the costs to get this output? Labor constant. Fertilizer, raw materials, environmental factor, and all of that put into it. I discovered that the least affected was oil palm. So I now zero on oil palm. As I speak with you, I've done, by the grace of God, I've done close to 8 hectares. I've decided to stick to oil palm for crops and, of course, the livestock, poultry. Where we are, ultimately, is not what we think we should do compared to standards across the industry. My target is to cultivate a minimum of 50 hectares of oil palm within the next 1 year. And once I do that, I hands off every other thing. Some people say, okay, within the next 5 years, I want to achieve that. Some say, okay, what you want to achieve in 5 years, another person might want to achieve it in 1 year. And your factors of production will support your projection. There are machines that will give you 3% tolerance level in terms of waste. There are other machines that will give you not more than 1% oil waste. You have a machine that will do 100 tons per day in processing. And the capacity you have can only give you 10 tons. It means you have idle capacity on the machine. And of course, it is a cost to your net value on your books. So you need to match the two. As you grow in cultivation, which will be the input will also be growing, then you need to also scale up your processing components to be able to attain it, and that is the trajectory we're looking at.
Can anyone predict the success of a farming business? If yes, how? If no, why not? These are some of the questions our guest will answer today, and trust me, he has answers. His farming business has enjoyed massive success over the years. Here with me in the studio is Mr. Jafar Sonibelo. Welcome to the show, Mr. Jafar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Frank.
How can one plan or define the goals, what eventually will become the success yardsticks in farming business? How do you make sure that you define your goals from the beginning?
First and foremost, you have to understand what are you involving yourself in. You have to understand the fact that the business is a very wide industry, and you have to first of all think of, look, I'm going into this farming business for what? Are you going into it to provide self-sufficiency for your household? Are you going into it to provide self-sustenance for you and your household? Are you going into it to key into the value chain or the supply chain of the agricultural industry? After you have decided on that, then you have to also decide on what product or produce are you going into the production of. Are you going into oil palm production? Are you going into field crop production? Are you going into horticultural crop production? Are you going into herbal production and what have you? And within the also different crop division, you also have to identify which particular crop it's relatively suitable for the environment you are in. You have to understand the weather and climatic conditions of your environment and look at which crop type it's really favorable. The conditions are really favorable to the production of. After you've decided that, then the next thing is you look at how accessible, available and affordable are those inputs that you require. Inputs such as preventive chemicals, curative chemicals, nutrition, seeds and implements, and then also the labor source. You can't expect to start a farming business in a location whereby you have 100 hectares of farmland and then the workforce there is barely a community of maybe 50 or 10 people. Where do you get the labor force? Because there is a lot of labor that might be required. So these are the kind of things that you have to look into before venturing into an agricultural business, and these are the kind of things that would tie your success down eventually.
You've watched Mr. Ogundipe. What do you think about his approach? He's retired, he's an accountant, he's retired, and he's now he started from poultry, went into, did some plantain, mixed it with some cassava. Now he's big time into palm oil. What do you think of that approach?
Well, the approach of Mr. Ogundipe is a very, very good approach, but it's not an approach that I will virtually recommend. But if you have listened to him, he said he went into agriculture proper. So it means he has been having some skeletal agricultural operations even before his retirement, before his exit. Because most of the times when you venture into agriculture at retirement, you have a lot of disposable income that you want to invest. And it's the rudimentary aspects of agriculture is not something that you can learn just within one season. There are so many things that you have to, fall and stand to understand about the process of production in agriculture. So it's advisable for people that think agriculture would be their mainstay vocation after retirement, they start practicing some skeletal aspects of it long before that time. He is lucky he's an economist as an accountant, so his skills of economics were sharp and good, and he deployed those arsenals very well.
I mean, what would you now score him over 40, considering his access to resources?
Well, I'll score him 27.
27 over 40.
Yes, because a lot of the things that he has said, he has not actually thrown light into his sources of funds. But cueing the fact that he started from 56 plots to 4 hectares, from 4 hectares to 8 hectares, and now he is projecting and planning within the next 1 year to have 50 hectares of palm oil plantation. I think he's doing a marvelous job, and then he has to have really some very formidable sources of funding.
Beautiful. I think 27 is a fair deal considering what you said. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll still be back with Mr. Jafar. Stay with us.
Welcome to the DIY segment. Today, I'll show you a quick way to grow young plants in your home garden using honey and raw whole potatoes. Get an Irish potato, a bowl of honey, and the stem of the plant you want to grow. Dip the stem into the bowl of honey, then into the potato. Plant it with the potato in your fertile soil and watch it grow quickly. That's our DIY hack for today. See you next week.
We're still in the studio discussing with Mr. Jafar on goal setting in agribusiness. Thank you for staying with us, Mr. Jafar.
Thank you very much.
What would you now say is the best way forward? Short-term, long-term, or medium-term planning in agriculture?
First and foremost, we need to start with the basics.
Knowledge.
Ensuring that the inputs that are brought into our country for deployment into agricultural fields are qualitative, their quantities are right, and their usability is adaptable to our ecosystem. In so many countries now, the use of propane has been phased out. The use of this 2,4-D has been phased out, but we're still using 2,4-D as a post-emergence and a pre-emergence herbicide in our fields. And the retention period of these chemicals is so toxic that it remains in the soil for 6 months. So it means that even after the harvest, you still have residue of these chemicals in your grains that you have harvested. And that is one of the problems that our beans are facing around the world. Our beans are banned in Europe, and we don't have traceabilities. All of our varieties now, maize varieties, sorghum varieties, they are outdated. We need to start having stem cell research that would develop new varieties for us to start using in our fields. When people are going to 6-7 tons of harvest in rice field, we're still hovering around 2.52 tons per hectare. We can't go anywhere. We can't compete with such kind of outputs, and the cost of production is extremely high here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jafar. You've seen Mr. Ogundipe. How would you rate his potential for growth on a scale of 0 to 20?
On a scale of 0 to 20, I would rate him 17.
Wow, that's good.
17.
So it looks like he's on the right path.
Yeah, he's on the right path. He's ambitious and he has what it takes. He has the economics of the agribusiness in mind in whatever he goes. The only thing that I might suggest to Mr. Ogundipe is to see to it that he puts in place a storage facility, because in Malaysia, you know, Malaysia now is the largest producer of palm oil. And way back in the 60s, they got these palm seeds from us, Nigeria. They produce over 120 products from the palm kernel that up till today will only take out the palm oil and at best some remedies for soap, for the soap industry. They foam when they wash it. So I think he should go into storage so that he will have the opportunity to be storing larger quantity of produce to be milled at a higher volume.
If you ask me, that's a good score already. So, but just before you go, one more thing. Based on all this and everything you know and you've seen about Mr. Ogundipe, what do you think the our fortune score of him will be? The final overall score, over 100. What do you think he's going to score?
I will rate him about 75.
75. Interesting. Because
there are so many things that he has really thought out of the box. First and foremost is the approach he took in running a trial of 5 different production crops, from plantain to maize, from maize to it's exceptional. It's exceptional. So I will rate him that. And
you are very close.
Also the surge he had from 56 to 4 hectares, from 4 hectares to 8 hectares, and now he's projecting 50 hectares within 1 year.
He actually made an A. You were right. He scored 72.
That's good.
Good,
Excellent.
good for him. Thank you very
Good
much,
for him.
Mr. Jafar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Frank,
for coming on this show.
It's a pleasure.
I wish you all the very best in
Thank
your
you very
agricultural
much.
endeavors.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We're going to join Helen Paul with Secrets of the Soil.
Welcome back to Farm and Fortune. I have a few questions for you, our special guests. Mr. Babajide Ahmed Lawal. So good to have you, sir. Thank you very much. Please, we want you to tell us, does your soil texture have a major influence on the type of crop you grow?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, what is soil texture? This refers to the proportion of sand, silt, and clay in size particles, which make up the mineral fraction of the soil. Generally, we have the sand, the silt, and the clay. All these have different characteristics. Take, for example, now the sand. It has large pore spaces. These pore spaces now allow air and water to infiltrate down into the soil. But the sandy soil does not hold enough water because the water will infiltrate down beyond the roots. For example, now take about the clay soil. Great. The clay soil is quite different from the sandy soil. The clay soil, the pore spaces are small. It holds large amount of water. It retains water and holds water and also holds large amount of nutrient. But the problem here is that if the clay soil is flooded with water, it will limit the amount of oxygen that goes down into the soil. And also the clay soil releases water bit by bit. That means it might affect the roots of the crop. It causes root rot because the water moves down in the soil little by little. But the best type of soil is a combination of both the sand, the silt, and the clay. That's the loamy soil. Because the loamy soil has high amount of organic matter, it has humus, it holds enough nutrients, it retains water, and is best for growing crops.
And that leads me to the next question. So what type of crops, thrive best in clay soil?
Like I said, the clay soil, these are the soils that hold high amount of water. They also retain nutrients, but they are also good for rice. Rice is a crop that likes water. Apart from rice, we also have some vegetables like lettuce, like cabbage, and the rest. They grow well in clay soil. But however, because of the characteristics of the clay soil, we have to apply good management practices. Because like I said earlier, clay soil, they hold large amount of water. And also, when they hold large amount of water, they prevent oxygen from going down into the soil. They also release water bit by bit into the soil. So good management practices like application of manure can help to mitigate all this. Also, good conservational practices like application of mulch, this can help in enhancing crop growth, especially the crop growth that grow well on clay soil.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Babajide. Now you can factor your soil into your farm projections. It's still Farm and Fortune, and please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're still watching Farm and Fortune, and this is Banter with Helen Paul. On Banter, my guests share their perspectives on issues at hand before battling it out for a game of darts. I have two special guests here in the house, Priscilla Williams and Kolawole Oluwagbemi. Good to have you in our show.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Great. Priscilla, tell me, if you win this money, what would you do with it?
I really hope I win, though. And as a soilless farmer, I hope to use the money to get farm equipment, because as soilless farmers, most of our equipment and our resources are expensive. So I really hope to use it to get some of the things that I need, like cocoa peat, rice hulls, seed trays, and the likes.
Wow, you really have plans. Mr. Kolawole, tell me something, because I know you'll be truthful.
Is it that sometimes our village people are the ones disturbing us, that when farmers set their goal and say, if I plant this, I should be able to get this, and at the end of the day, they don't achieve it?
What do you think the problem is?
Not really. There are a lot of factors that contribute to us as farmers achieving our goals. One of them is the climatic conditions. So certain times, farmers experience adverse climatic conditions.
Like too much sun or too much rain?
Too much rain, flooding, drought.
Okay.
And also, another factor could be pest invasion. And also, human factors, that's human sabotage.
Oh my God, it's okay. But it's time to play. Are you ready to play?
Yes, ma'am.
One of you has to go home with 100,000 naira worth of farm inputs. It's a game of darts, and the rules are simple. In the middle is the ultimate goal of winning 100,000 naira worth of farm inputs. You have 5 chances to throw. Whoever eats the goal first takes the money. There's smaller sum, of course, across the darts. If no one hits the goal, we will calculate your winning based on what you threw. Are you ready for that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Hopefully, you eat a very big amount. Bass. Are you ready? Set it, oh yeah! Almost. Brasilia, almost. Mr. Kola Wale. Yay! 50 naira. Brasilia, you like money. 10 naira this time around. Mr. Kola. 10 naira ni. Let's go. Brasilia, you don't want to kiss it now. Let's go. 10,000. Mr. Kola, let's go. Brasilia, 3,000. Why are you behaving like this? You're going lower. Mr. Kola, 100 naira. You like 100 naira. Brasilia, let's go. Brasilia, you just lose everything. Let's go, Mr. Kola. That is it. Thank goodness I will win the 100. Let me see if I can play one. Are you ready? Let me see. Hold on. Shift. What I tell you is what you do. What I tell you is what to do. What I tell you is what to do. 3,000. None of us. Congratulations and thank you so much for coming on the show. Everyone is a winner on Farm and Fortune, okay?
Thank you very much.
Don't worry. Yeah, it's so good to have you. It's still Farm and Fortune. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Wait, Helen.
Yes.
Come to think of it, what goals have you achieved this year?
I've not achieved much. But come, to think of it, what's your business? Okay, I've achieved a goal of giving our viewers a fantastic show today.
Indeed. It's been a great show today, but you know, it's that time when we have to say our goodbye. It's time to go.
But thank you so much for joining us to see an amazing show like Farm and Fortune. We'll be back next week with another exciting episode of Farm and Fortune. Same time, same station.
But until then, follow us on our social media handles at Farm and Fortune on Instagram and YouTube. Let's keep the conversation going on. You can even rate Mr. Agundipe yourself on our Fortune score.
Of course, we need your score as well. Don't forget, my name is Helen Paul.
And I am Frank Donga.
And see you next week. Don't forget to my name is Helen Paul. You know your name, front card.